across Seoul. The National Assembly quickly voted 190-0 to rescind the martial law, calling it invalid. The president then lifted the order, bending to political pressure and claims it was anti-democratic. Now, South Korean lawmakers have submitted articles of impeachment against the president and are calling for his resignation. Voting on the motion could take place as early as Friday or Saturday. The country's Democratic Party, which controls parliament, will also start impeachment proceedings against some ministers. Insurrection charges are expected to be filed against the president and several other leaders. Multiple top aides to the president have already tendered their resignations, including the president's chief of staff and the defense minister. We'll have much more on this developing story throughout the morning. Turning news now back here at home. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that President-elect Trump is weighing whether or not to replace Pete Hegseth as his pick for defense secretary. And he's considering tapping Florida Governor Ron DeSantis for the position instead. The paper cites people familiar with the discussions for its story. Now, NBC News has not independently confirmed that report, but the speculation comes amid increasing concerns from some GOP lawmakers over mounting allegations about Hegseth's personal life. People close to the president-elect team tell the Journal Trump allies believe Hegseth may not survive further scrutiny. The paper puts it this way. Picking DeSantis would amount to a stunning turn for Trump, but in DeSantis, Trump has a well-known conservative with both military and executive experience who shares Trump's and Hegseth's view on eliminating so-called woke policies from the armed forces. Meanwhile, we are indeed learning more details about some of those growing concerns that could imperil Hegseth's nomination. 3 current and 7 former Fox employees tell NBC News that Hegseth drank in ways that concerned his colleagues. 2 of them said he smelled of alcohol before going on air as a co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend and did so more than a dozen times. As NBC News notes, 3 current employees said his drinking remained a concern up until Trump announced him as his choice to run the Pentagon, at which point Hegseth left Fox. For the sake of national security, I really hope he has stopped drinking, said one of the former Fox employees. He should not be Secretary of Defense, another Fox employee said. His drinking should be disqualified. This follows a report from The New Yorker earlier this week that detailed accusations of impropriety and drunkenness that led to Hegseth's ouster from 2 top veterans groups nearly a decade ago. A spokesperson for the Trump transition told NBC News, quote, "These disgusting allegations are completely unfounded and false, and anyone peddling these defamatory lies to score political cheap shots is sickening." As a decorated combat veteran, Pete has never done anything to jeopardize that, and he is treating his nomination as the most important deployment of his life. Hegseth's lawyer referred NBC to the Trump team statement, and Fox News did not respond to requests for comments. Hegseth skated to do an interview on Fox later today. Despite the concerns surrounding his nomination, Hegseth was back on Capitol Hill yesterday to meet with Republican senators. Sources are telling NBC News that as many as 6 Senate Republicans, perhaps more, are currently not comfortable supporting Hegseth. Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa, who was on the Armed Services Committee and is seen as a key vote here, did not publicly endorse Hegseth yesterday, saying she's going to have a really frank and thorough conversation with him. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina told CBS News, "I think some of these articles are very disturbing. He obviously has a chance to defend himself here, but some of this stuff, it's going to be difficult." But there are lawmakers who are downplaying the allegations of womanizing and alcohol abuse. Senator John Cornyn of Texas told reporters, quote, "That would not be novel in Washington, D.C." Joining us now, congressional reporter for Punchbowl News, Mika Solner. Mika, thanks for joining us this morning. Let's start with the Hegseth nomination. We should note these stories of these allegations of problems with alcohol may not sit well with the president-elect, who is famously someone who has never had a drink, looks down upon people who do. In fact, Rudy Giuliani may have missed out on a cabinet post in 2016 because of his own drinking. So with that as the backdrop, tell us the very latest you're hearing from Capitol Hill about senators and their staff, what they're saying about Hegseth's chances.
Yeah, good morning, Jonathan. There's a lot of concern that's being raised privately and some publicly about Hegseth's nomination. I think that it's concerning that some of the Trump allies have raised private concerns regarding, the potential for him to clear a path to get cleared by the Senate. And this is going to be a big test for Trump, too, who already had one of his nominees, Matt Gaetz, for Attorney General, step aside. So he's facing a lot of trouble with some of his the people that he's tapping for his administration already. So this could also further deter who he wants to serving for him.
Now, we obviously, at least publicly, the Trump team is standing by Hegseth, but as the Wall Street Journal reports, Governor DeSantis of Florida is being at least bandied about as a possible replacement. What is your sense? It seems to me that DeSantis would have a much easier time getting Senate confirmation. He's obviously been vetted through publicly from his runs for governor and his presidential bid. Is that your read as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And not to mention that Governor DeSantis still has a lot of Capitol Hill ties that he could play up. I think they're mainly in the House, but I think that he'll certainly have a much easier time getting through the process. As you just mentioned, that he's already been vetted. And I think that DeSantis has done a good job repairing his relationship with Trump that was once fraught once he was challenging him for the presidency. But it seems the two have really mended that.
It would be a repeat in a way of his choice of Marco Rubio, another Florida politician with whom he clashed for a time, but seems to have mended some fences. So, I mean, you mentioned it, Mika, Gaetz has already bailed, Hegseth in real trouble. There's some speculation that some of Trump's other picks may have some difficulty, namely Kash Patel, his choice for FBI director. What's the latest there in terms of GOP support for Patel? It's been quieter because Hegseth's taking a lot of the attention. But there are concerns there, too, no?
Yeah, there's definitely concerns about Patel. I think that it's kind of fallen to the wayside. It's been a little bit of a sleeper given all of the attention that's been put on Hegseth. But I think that that's also going to be a very difficult confirmation process in terms of, him tapping Kash Patel. But we're going to have to see what people end up deciding, because I know that there's a lot of concern over some of the people that Trump's tapping more than others here.
Yeah, I was talking to a Republican yesterday who suggested that once the Hegseth drama is cleared one way or the other, Kash Patel will be the next nominee in the spotlight. Congressional reporter for Punchbowl News, Mika Solner. Mika, thank you for starting us off this morning. Next up here, one of President-elect's other recent nominees, one we haven't mentioned, has now withdrawn his name from consideration. We'll tell you who that is and why. Plus, attorneys for Trump have launched a new effort to throw out his hush money conviction from earlier this year. Those stories and a check on sports and weather when we come right back.
I avoided credit cards most of my life, but when I started to create a streaming platform for musicians like me, I knew it was important to build my credit to set my business up right. I heard about the Chime Credit Builder card and I signed up right away. I didn't have to worry about fees, interest, or credit checks. Within a month, my score went up. Now it's up over 100 points. I feel set up for success, and so is my business. I tell everybody about the Chime Credit Builder card. Here we go.
If you have heart disease and struggle with LDL-C,
even with statins and diet,
listen to your heart.
Talk to your doctor about Repatha.
Repatha plus a statin lowers LDL-C by 63%. Do not take Repatha if you're allergic to it. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Common side effects include runny nose, sore throat, common cold symptoms, flu or flu-like symptoms, back pain, high blood sugar, and redness, pain, or bruising at the injection site. Ask about Repatha.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, so that everyone who believes in him might not perish, but might have eternal life.
Want to ditch the junk for healthier kid swaps? Thrive Market can help. We're the online grocery store that delivers thousands of healthier options they'll love. From low-sugar snacks to high-protein staples, all up to 30% off. Here you'll find high-quality, organic, and sustainable brands vetted by our in-house experts who restrict 1,000-plus ingredients. So you can shop worry-free, knowing you'll never sacrifice on quality or taste. No more picky eaters here. Join today and get a free gift and 40% off your first order.
Being good at video games was part of the social currency of the moment.
The first time I saw the Rodney King video, it felt surreal.
Generation X, born between 1965 and 1980.
I could be dead in a ditch somewhere and my parents wouldn't know.
That's so Gen X.
About 3 years ago, my partners started to take the view that the Silicon Valley cliche of overworked, underslept CEO was actually like scientifically not the path to success. And we wanted to change the narrative. And the reason to do it is it's actually better for decision making and therefore better for investment returns. And so we launched a big survey of founders that were both inside of our portfolio and outside of our portfolio. We took all that data and we launched our founder well-being program. We offered a holistic 6-month program on, physical wellness, mental wellness, coaching, and nutritional wellness. We also provide now a parenting group.
Welcome back. We got footage just moments ago. President Joe Biden touching down in Lobito, Angola. He had been elsewhere in the nation to start the day. He was a welcome ceremony there on the tarmac outside Air Force One and will soon be touring the port of Lobito, center to a rail corridor. The Biden administration has invested billions of dollars in to connect several African nations, part of the U.S.'s efforts to combat China's rising influence and infrastructure there on the continent. We see some dancers there greeting President Biden as part of a traditional welcome ceremony. He returns from Africa later tonight in what is likely his last foreign trip as president. Meanwhile, news that he will return to is the aftermath of his pardon of his son, Hunter Biden. In the wake of that pardon, lawyers for President-elect Trump are urging the judge who oversaw his hush money case to dismiss the indictment against him. In court filings made public yesterday, Trump's attorneys argue that Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg has engaged in precisely the type of political theater that President Biden has condemned in the pardon of Hunter Biden. Bragg's office has until Monday to respond. Back in May, of course, Trump was convicted of 34 felony counts involving hush money paid to an adult film star. The judge who oversaw that case has already postponed Trump's sentencing indefinitely in light of his November election win. Meanwhile, Trump's pick to lead the Drug Enforcement Administration has abruptly withdrawn his name from consideration. He'd only been nominee for a few days. Chad Chronister, who currently serves as the sheriff for Hillsborough County, Florida, made the announcement on social media yesterday, indeed, just 3 days after Trump picked him. Chronister is now the second of Trump's picks to withdraw his name from consideration for an administration post after a fellow Florida man, Matt Gaetz, pulled out his name last month from the consideration to be Attorney General. Chronister wrote in part this: over the past several days, as the gravity of this very important responsibility set in, I've concluded that I must respectfully withdraw from consideration. There is more work to be done for the citizens of Hillsborough County, and a lot of initiatives I am committed to fulfilling. A spokesperson for Trump's transition team did not respond to a request for comment, but the pick had actually received a lot of blowback